This is bait, life outside the Federal Witness Protection Program. A very dangerous way to exist.
Skinhead, deadhead, everybody, gun bad, situation, aggravation, everybody, allegation, innocence, on the news, everybody, dog food, bang bang, shot dead, everybody, gun bad. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us.
Maybe someday they'll quit using kids as pawn. Hey, it's Susan. Welcome to today's episode of War Crimes Unit. Hey, nice to see ya. That was actually from a retired attorney, a woman at least claimed to be a retired attorney from the State Department. I met her on my Royal Caribbean cruise back in January of 2010, and then after she took a look at the work that I did with Congress, that was her analysis on the situation. You know, when I actually met her on the cruise, she said nothing about children, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, I want to read you this letter that I have actually started sending to Congress. And you know what? I have to wonder if it'll ever get anywhere. And I'll tell you why. I know of other cases like mine. I've actually learned of those, just within the last few years. Now, as corrupt as this Mark Moore guy is, if you've seen some of my other videos, I've talked about this corrupt CIA guy, Mark Moore, this Navy guy who's very, very dangerous. At one point in time when, Attorney Randy Roski, I thought he was a good guy, he did actually say that I wasn't the only person in the United States in this situation. So, I don't know, he must have seen this kind of case before, but obviously he took advantage of the situation. But anyway, so here's my letter to Congress. Now I'm sending this to both state governments and federal governments, congressional leaders, because, even though ICE Attorney Elliot Williams wrote this letter within the purview of the DOJ, obviously nobody in the DOJ wants to do anything. And I think it's probably because so many law enforcement and so many attorneys on a state and federal level, I really think that they do this all the time. I think that they have pawned children for many, 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 many years. And it's just only recently, things have come to light, so to speak. And I think it's just because more and more cases are coming out in the open. I don't know if it has to do with us women bitching more and more people are hearing about it or what. But okay, so here's the deal. Now, in this letter that I'm writing, that I've written and already sent to some congressional leaders, I've included 3 other pieces of work, if you want to call it, with it. You probably won't be able to see it here on this video, but I included a letter from Senator John McCain that talks about the State Department. I included a letter from ICE. It says within the purview of the U.S. Department of Justice, and then we've got the criminal negligence by the U.S. Department of Justice. And I also included a letter that was kind of co-sponsored by Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland, to Senator John McCain, with Senator John McCain about this situation or situations in the jurisdiction of the National Security Agency. So National Security Agency, back in 2007, one retired agent, called the situation insane. Back in 2006, the State Department, even asked me, what's the FBI doing about this? I cited the whole damn thing as being within the purview of the DOJ. But still, we have no justice. So anyway, so that's why I said, so here's the deal. So here's the letter that I've written. It says, Save Adrian Project at the top. Pawn of America's children for criminal information. Dear congressional leader, would you consider sponsoring a bill that would prohibit law enforcement, attorneys, and judges on a state and federal level from pawning or plea bargaining children under age 18 for criminal information? According to a retired attorney from the State Department, it's happened before. In the case of Adrian, now Adrian's my son, but in the case of Adrian, law enforcement, cross-spanning every level and agency, along with their intelligence operatives and investigators and task forces, counterparts in district attorneys' offices and U.S. attorneys' offices, worked in a RICO conspiracy with the private community to make Adrian and my life living hell on a daily basis through interference. How did they finally get Adrian? In 2008, they assaulted him and CPS took him, while at the same time I was a human trafficking victim for nursing wages and sex trafficked at the hospitals. Adrian's major assault case was never prosecuted, and according to one government employee, who is incidentally this Mark Moore, the Clark County, Nevada Family Court was paid off $30,000. The pawn of Adrian came from a JTTF task force ICE arrest based on a report that I made to the Las Vegas, Nevada FBI in 2004 about three things: the father's unusual change in behavior related to mortgage loan practice, him disclosing that he is an illegal alien, and his threats to take children to the country of Iran. Rather than protecting Adrian, his half-sister Brooke, or other children, the FBI task force used that information to their advantage. In 2004, making an FBI report was done with the help of a former neighbor of mine who was a detective with the Dayton, Ohio Police Department. Then it seemed like the right thing to do. Today, I can say that making that FBI report was a very big mistake. Not only is my son Adrian and the other kids missing, my entire family and many other people are missing. Apparently, forced disappearance or murder of witnesses is common in these cases, so we don't interfere with legal plea bargains. In the event that you or your office wishes to pursue this type of case through legislative actions, committees, or otherwise, please do not hesitate to contact me directly. Sincerely, Susan Christine Knisley, BSN RN, and I give my email addresses. So we'll see what transpires. The only trouble is when you're using Congress, whether you're using, your state legislators, you're using, U.S. Congress, Senate, or the House, or you're even using, state leaders such as, the Attorney General's office or the governor or so forth. The trouble is that a lot of them are attorneys. And, attorneys seem to protect attorneys. So we'll have to see if this goes anywhere. So I said that's because so many attorneys favor criminal activity and do plea bargains all the time. Now, the only laws that I have found in the United States applicable laws to this is, of course, RICO, the RICO laws, and also, within that would be human trafficking. Of course, you could throw in witness tampering along with that. But while it's, for some reason, it appears to be acceptable to the U.S. Department of Justice, I'm not sure. But it's definitely a violation under international law as well, because now we've got the possibility of children in the hands of very, very high-end, sophisticated criminals. In some cases, it might be terrorist or terrorism, and they could be located in what is called zones of armed conflict. Because it's still to this day, I don't know where my son is or the other kids. Okay, so that's today's episode of War Crimes Unit. You know what? When it comes to law enforcement and the legal system, there is very, very little truth in the advertising. So beware. I'll see you next time.